Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on when you're watching this video. I know we'll have some live viewers today. For us, it is Saturday. I got my good friend Caleb and Sam joining us on a live mastermind Q&A for the people. We do this for you guys so that way we can really give back. We find fulfillment in helping other people build a more successful lawn and landscape business. So good morning, guys. How's your guys' morning going? Between Caleb and Sam. How you guys
cold
doing?
outside?
It is.
Yeah.
It is cold.
Good,
In fact, actually, fun fact, all three of us are down here in Texas. So
the great
we got,
country of Texas.
I guess you guys can call us the Texas boys. You know what I mean? Or I should say men, right? We're not boys.
Well,
Texas men. All right. But today we are primarily talking about profits and how to increase profits. And as always, let me go ahead and put the banner on the screen. So anybody that does have questions, I know we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. So between the two, wherever you're watching, just go ahead and put any questions you have below. But before we get into it, we were talking a little bit about the Mike Tyson fight last night. So hopefully people got some entertainment from that. It was for me a little bit of a sad ending, but nonetheless they both went the 8 rounds and lasted, which is huge. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, and I think it was Jake Paul's first opponent that did not get knocked down during the fight.
Really?
Yeah, like the only opponent that he's faced that has not been knocked down.
Wow.
I feel like Jake was holding back a little bit, though.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
so.
He
Yeah.
wanted to put an old man down on a canvas.
Right.
Not good for
Dude,
the brand.
I think both of them were definitely throwing some haymakers, like at times. Like they were throwing them, like not like maybe the whole time every time, but there were a couple where it was like, whoa, when you kind of watch it and they slow it down, it's like, man,
When Mike was walking out, he just looked so old.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was just watching like Joe Biden about to enter a ring. Like, we can't do this to this man.
So funny. Did you guys have network problems watching it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, us too. We were getting so upset. We're like, man, this can't happen during the main event.
Yeah.
I went to a bar that I'm able to walk to. There's no problems.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was perfect.
See, I was wondering about that because I was talking to my brother-in-law. I'm like, I wonder what they're gonna do if it's like a public place or something where they're really casting that, But
yeah,
it
was great. It was so packed. It was crazy.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I wanted to ask you guys because this is one of the things for us. So we're actually looking at potentially changing our logo a little bit. And so I want to hear your guys' feedback. And hopefully this can help other people that are maybe just getting started and they're like, what should my name be and what should the logo be? So I think I'm going to share my screen here. I want to give you guys kind of like 2 options of kind of where we're kind of going. So let me go ahead and pull this up, share my screen because I value you guys' input here.
Well, thanks, Will. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So for starters, I guess let me pull up our logo here. So I guess let's go into our website. I sought advice, and a good mentor of mine basically said that this logo's too busy. Like it's really memorable. Like they see the mower going over the head and stuff, and it's kind of funny, but there's just a lot going on, right? A lot going on. So here are the 2 options we are looking at. This is a Sparta Lawn Care. So this is an example of one that we like to simplify the one that we have, doing something similar to this where it's a little bit like less busy. Are you guys able to see this?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I don't know. Yep. And we also have like 7 colors in our logo. And every time we go and get uniform shirts, they give us a problem about how many colors there are. So I don't know, maybe doing something like this where it's a little bit more simple and still keeping it rounded or similar. You know what? Let's use troops mowing. Here we go. Yeah, we're gonna use Sims, or doing something similar to this, where it's like maybe the words where it says military lawn cuts, and then like over here maybe having like a star or a helmet or a mower or something like that. Something more simple, or maybe just the soldier, but more in like a text form. Like, what do you guys? I don't know. That's
Yeah.
what we're debating is like, should we keep the circular and simplify, or should we keep it and elongate it with like text and then a picture, similar to Augusta lawn care, troops mowing, spruce lawn care, all that stuff. What do you
I'll
guys?
let you go, Caleb.
I'd say I'm biased because I kind of have like the troops mowing look, kind of. I would probably, in my opinion, go for that. It's a little more simple. I think you can make either work though. Both can be memorable.
So I agree with you in the simplicity form. Like you can read it really well.
Yeah.
I guess my only problem though is like on the website and stuff when you have that elongated logo, like for example, Instagram or something, or Facebook where you have a circular picture. Isn't that kind of hard to fit that in there? You know what I mean? Sometimes on social media platforms when it's not circular.
Yeah, I think you first have to break down what is it that you are trying to accomplish with a logo. And so, are you trying to have a logo that fits in an Instagram icon slot? Or are you trying to have a logo that's going to get somebody to Google your name after they pass your truck?
Good point.
And so I think that's what you're gonna like. Logos are so overrated to me. Like we're troops mowing, we're a military company. We have a blue leaf. There is no meaning behind that blue leaf. I just wanted a little splash of color, but I wanted my name to be out there. We don't have phone numbers on our trucks because nobody's gonna remember a phone number. We don't prioritize a logo because nobody's gonna remember a logo unless you're Nike. Like you just pride yourself in your name. Another good, like, this might sound so stupid or so oversimplified, but I think a good logo is a logo that you can get embroidered on a polo. If you can't embroider it on a polo, it's not a good logo.
Yeah, it's a good point. Because like with this one, dude, it's so complicated with
And
all
you
the
really don't even
information.
you're losing the name of your business in that logo.
Right.
It's too
Yeah,
much to look at.
it's so busy. So, all right. So you make a good point. I guess if you're asking me what my goal is, I would say to keep things very simple, but not lose, I guess, like this is memorable, right? Like if you're sitting behind me at a stoplight in the truck and this is the first time that you've seen this. I've seen number of people in my rearview mirror that like see the logo and then they're like taking a picture of it or like laughing or I don't know, like it's just kind of funny, right? So like and memorable, I should say. It's memorable. That's the word. Like where's that line of hey, we want it simple, but we also want it memorable so people remember us, you know?
Yeah, I
What do
think
you
there's a difference between like a logo and a mascot, right? So like you kind of have like a mascot with that guy with his head. Like
Mhm.
Caleb has a mascot with a goat. Augusta's logo is only Augusta. That's the word Augusta. Their mascot is Max.
Right. Let me just go over here so we can see what we're working with. Yeah. It's a good point, you know?
Yeah, so maybe you could separate the soldier from the words, kind of like how it is in that photo right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a text message right now, Will. With there's the company that wraps all of our trucks. I
Mhm.
wish we have good wraps on our trucks, but there's something about this wrap that they did for a different company that just like stands out, and I wish we would have done it. And
Yeah.
so using this, you can share your phone screen if you want, or however you want to do it.
Oh
But
yeah, that'd be really cool. Let me pull this up.
having just your name like flat out in the open like that is the I think the best way to do it. I think you're getting too caught up on logo.
Can you guys see the picture?
Yep.
Yeah, dude. I actually really like what you're putting out here. So what you're saying is basically the name is the logo, but obviously you want to try to customize it. So that's interesting. Rhino
No, you
USA.
can't Google a logo. You can Google a name.
Right. Yeah. It's a good point. So like, and then I think back and I'm like, dude, okay, let me show you a crazy one that I'm like, I don't understand how this even, like, Starbucks, okay? I don't know. There's just so much going on with this logo. Like,
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
is it? You know what I mean? It's like everybody knows Starbucks, but like nobody knows what, I don't know. Is this like a mermaid with a crown? I
You
don't,
have to. You go ahead, Caleb. I'm sorry. I keep talking. You're good.
They've changed that logo over time too, multiple times because of that.
oh, really?
If you look at like the history of Starbucks, they've changed it like 10 times because
Yeah.
they're trying to like figure it out.
Huh. Okay.
So
Yeah,
yeah, but it is like a complex logo, it's a lot
Yeah.
going on.
we are in two different games than Starbucks. Starbucks is competing on brand and like who their ideal like customer is.
Mhm.
We're just competing for people to find us on Google. So like Nike has an iconic logo, Starbucks has an iconic logo, Adidas has an iconic logo. They need those logos because they are a brand, but whereas we are a home service company. We can have a brand, but we are not a brand, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and that makes sense. You can't logo or you can't search what a logo is, right? Like you can search the company name, and so yeah. All right, it's a good point. You guys make some valid points. Some valid points.
So what I'm not saying, Will, is I'm not saying to not put time and effort towards a logo. Um, I guess what I am saying is you need to have your name like boom. You can't miss your name on the truck. You can have like a mascot or a logo that's going to catch an eye. Like for
Mhm.
example, let's see if I can pull it up on my computer. This is probably one thing that we're going to start putting like on our website. Let's see if I can find it.
Did you want to share your screen or?
I'll probably just send it to you since you already got everything pulled up.
So you're saying you're willing to you would be willing to sacrifice the funniness, uh, memorable icon of like him getting a cut with a mower over his head
Yeah.
to put just the name on the side of the truck or on the website, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's 100%. I mean, you want something that's going to be super simple that you're not going to have too many people get caught up on looking at your logo for 30 seconds trying to figure out what it is, whereas you just wanting to get to your free estimate form.
Hmm. Good point.
But I just sent you a text message, Will, with like what we're going to start putting on some of our stuff just to have like an extra little thing. But our logo is basically just our word for the most part.
Oh, that's cool. That's freedom right there, brother.
Free to fly, dude.
Oh, I lost it. Yeah, dude, that's nice. That's really nice. So then this would be your mascot then.
Yeah, but that's just like one thing just to be funny and like maybe catch an eye. But I'm putting zero emphasis in that as the logo. Like if we actually take a look at it, that mascot has our logo for the most part on its shirt. It's just the word.
Right. Yeah. And then the same coloring scheme and all that. Interesting. Very interesting. I like it, dude.
Do you have a few concepts that you've gotten like drawn up for yours?
Um kind of, but some of the concepts are a little bit like too basic, and so we were kind of trying to find that happy medium of like we want it to be basic, but we also kind of want it to be memorable and hopefully find that balance. But like I don't know. When I keep going back to this, I'm like, yeah, like there's so much going on this logo. It's like it's insane. Like it's just so busy. And I mean, even like I said, the embroidery people, when we bring it to them, they're like, man, there's a lot going on this to stitch this and get all those little colors. They're like, we can just make the helmet one color and all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, look at like my hat and then Caleb's hat. It's like just something simple where you can put on a hat really quick on a shirt, you know?
Right. No, makes sense. Okay, let me stop sharing. Cool. Yeah, no, that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. So, cool. I like it. I appreciate
Yeah, I think
like,
simple is just the key
yeah.
word there. Just simplify.
Yeah, we need to because yeah. I like it though. I like the name or some kind of image with the word. I like that.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, that sounds good. All right. So we're talking about retaining profits in our company. All right. Sorry, that was a kind of a side trail. I wanted to bring everybody down. But Sam, you said that you had a calculator. So how do you guys like obviously like handle this, right? Like that calculator that you were kind of talking about previously. Could you maybe like go into that and share that with us? I'm curious to see.
Yeah. Let me pull something up.
Also, while he's pulling that up, I know we do have some live people watching. This is your opportunity to ask us questions. This is a live Q&A. So literally in about maybe 15 to 20 minutes from now, we'll be jumping into Q&A. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and put them in the comments below right now.
All right. I got that screen shared, Will. I don't know if you need to add it or.
Yes, I got it up here.
All right, cool. Let me configure my screen so I can see what's going on here. All right. So when we think about profit, it's easy for all of us to just like look at the bottom of our profit and loss statement and say, this is what it is. Take that number, divide it by the top line. Oh, that's our net profit percentage. That doesn't tell the full story. Like if you have debt, you have your debt service is going to be on your balance sheet. So your profit and loss statement might show that you have a net 25% profit, but really you have X amount of debt per month that brings it down to 8% profit. And so you have to have, your profit and loss statement and your balance sheet tell the whole story. But when we break down like our numbers, if we have to ask ourselves like, okay, cool, the bottom line shows our profit, but how can we take it the next step further to like pull levers in our business to change that bottom number? And this is what that calculator aims to do. And so there's a few different levers that you can pull. You first have to ask yourself, how do you calculate profit? It's revenue minus expenses. At its core, that's what it is. So you can say, well, I can increase revenue and I can decrease expenses, or I can do both. And that's how you can change your profit. But there's more to it. And so what I like to do is I like to break down. I've been on like this journey of doing research on attrition and churn rate, and I've come up with this calculator for it. You need to figure out how long your customers are staying with you, what your net profit percentage is after your debt service. And that's going to get you a few different data points. Ultimately, what we're looking for is what are we profiting per customer? Now you can take this number, and I was talking with Will, I don't know, a few weeks ago about like your customer acquisition cost in relation to your lifetime value, your net profit per customer. And you want that to be around like a 1-to-5 ratio. And so if we're taking a look at this, if these numbers are all true, I can spend about $100 in customer acquisition cost and feel comfortable doing it because I'm going to get a 5x return on my marketing spend. And so when a lot of people just say, well, I'm going to get an X amount of return on marketing. Well, how do you know that? The only way you can know that is to know exactly what you're profiting per customer. So a few different levers that we can pull is if we're paying attention to this bottom line, let's say our net profit is 15% and our monthly attrition rate is 7%. If we take this and kind of break this down, our customers on average are staying with us for 14.3 months if our monthly attrition rate is 7%. How you get that number is you take 1 divided by your monthly attrition rate. That's going to get you your total months that a customer stays with you. And then you want to multiply that by how much a customer brings in per year, your annual value per customer. Divide that by 12, multiply that by how many months they stay with you. And that's the customer lifetime value. And so you want this number to be high and you want this number to be high so that this number can be high, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you see my mouse or is it just my screen?
No, I can see your mouse. Everything. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. So
go
ahead.
Sorry. Keep going.
Now, so basically the two levers, like there's multiple levers you can pull. Like I said, you can increase revenue, or you can decrease your expenses, or you can do both. Those are the primary levers you can pull. Another lever you can pull is by playing defense and making sure your customers don't leave. And so if we just cut this in half, watch this bottom line, this profit per customer. If we decrease our monthly attrition rate by half, our profit per customer increases by 100%. So a 50% decrease in attrition is a 100% increase in profit.
That's interesting. I like those numbers.
Another lever you can pull is focusing on the first three that we said, revenue and expenses. If you can get a 5% increase on your net profit and take it up to 20%, now that's a 33% increase on your profit per customer.
Nice. That's awesome.
It's I'm probably oversimplifying it, but at the end of the day, you just have to ask yourself, like, what is the metric that I'm trying to calculate and what's the importance of it? It's as simple as revenue minus expenses equals profit. Well, those are your two levers you can pull. And then you also have to kind of break it down and let's play defense instead of just focusing on revenue and expenses.
Yeah. Did you have any questions on that, Caleb?
No, this is awesome. I wish I had this.
All right. I have a question for you, Sam.
Yeah.
For someone that's looking here, obviously total revenue is pretty easy to pull from their reports. Total recurring customers, easy. Attrition rate, if you have Copilot, it kind of shows you what that percentage is. So that's kind of easy. How are you annual value per customer is easy. How many visits do you have for the year? Times $40 a cut, whatever, right? Gives you that annual. How are you figuring out the lifetime value of the customer? Like, where is that? Because I don't know if I found a fast, or I think it is. I think it does show it on the KPI cockpit in Copilot, but I don't think it's accurate. So how would somebody, whether they're using Copilot or not, figure out what their lifetime value of a customer is?
Yeah, to find your customer lifetime value, you only need 3 different metric points, and it's these first 3. You need to find your total revenue, total reoccurring customers, and your monthly attrition rate. So to get your customer lifetime value, what you do is you take your total revenue divided by how many customers you have. That's going to get you your annual value per customer. And now what we do is we take this number divided by 12. That's going to get our monthly value per customer. And if we have our monthly attrition rate, we do 1 divided by 7% in this example, and that gets us this number. This number is how many months a customer stays with us. And if we know how much value one customer gets us per month and how many months they stay with us, multiply those two together, and that gets you your customer lifetime value.
Got it. Okay.
Cool.
That makes sense. That's good stuff, man. I like that calculator.
Yeah, I can send it to you guys if you want.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. All right. Caleb, did you have anything to add to that? Or anything?
Yeah, just pretty much what he said is just lower costs, increase income. That's all I would say. But yeah, there's obviously like different areas you need to focus on. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, and I'll let you maybe go after me, Caleb, to give you a little bit of time of thinking of like some ways to kind of like increase profit. So that way, maybe just quick snippets, kind of a few small things that I kind of wrote down. Cause me, I always like to come a little bit prepared here. This is the perfect time, I think, for people to simplify services. Like the end of the year when it's slowing down and being like, okay, let me pull a report of the 15 services I offer. And then the ones that are only like 1 or 2% of our revenue, we can probably get rid of. You know what I mean? Unless it's like a pure profit like play, where it's like for us, aerations is really nice because we make bank off of it. Even though it's only like 1 or 2% of our revenue, it's like it makes us a ton of money, right? But like now is like the perfect time for people to do that. That way they can simplify to scale, hopefully in the next year. And then this is also just kind of another reassurance for people during the spring rush to be focusing on recurring revenue. Because if you have recurring revenue and you focused on that all year, this is now the time where the recurring revenue starts to make you like more money. Like our mows that we go to these days do not take us the full budgeted time. We're in and out. Grass isn't growing that much. Like or going to winter services. That's all recurring revenue. So it's like you sell the customer once, and then for as long as you have them through the winter and the off season and stuff like that, helps obviously retain that profit. So you're not having to like go and sell, a lot of one-time jobs. And then this kind of contradicts. Well, and then all right, so I have two last things. So the first thing is you could expand revenue per client. Like I know Sam is you guys are doing Christmas lights this year, right? For the first time. So
Second time.
Oh, second time. Okay, so that would be absolutely like adding an additional service so that way you can get a better lifetime value from that customer to increase profit. Obviously, snow removal, Christmas lights right now, winter services, all three great avenues to like increase profits for fall and winter. And then obviously a price increase, which to be honest, I mean, depending on your capacity, most of us are slowing down, but definitely looking at like maybe a price increase early next spring, if possible, if you're getting close to capacity to increase profits. We actually are thinking about going to 90 an hour at our main location next year. I know Sam and I were kind of talking about this a little bit, but Larissa had came to me and was like, I want to get us another truck. I think I can handle 2 more employees. And Sam challenged me really well and was like, is that what you want to do? Is she going to be replaceable? Is the person that comes in behind her able to manage 6 trucks and 12 people? If the answer is no, you may not want to get that next truck, and it might be time to kind of raise prices and get profit. So I think that might be what we do, but I got to convince Larissa on that one. So those are kind of some quick tip strategies that we're kind of thinking through to increase profit. But did you have anything to add to that, or did you have any, or what do you,
Yeah,
Caleb, like?
you pretty much you said what I wanted to say. But the first thing was raising prices. Like
Mhm.
just it's one of the simplest ways. You can just simply raise your prices. It's not you don't have to do more work. You're probably gonna have less work now, and you're gonna have more profits at the end of the day. Um, Also cutting labor, depending on the time of year, especially right now, cutting back on labor, it's gonna raise your profits simply.
Great
That's
point.
something that huh?
I said great point because I didn't
Yeah,
do that
yeah,
the first year or two.
yeah.
I tried to
So
retain that.
yeah, cut back on labor as needed, especially at this time of year too. There's no point in keeping people busy if they're not producing revenue.
Right.
That's very true.
Extremely true. Yeah, I remember the first like 2 years we would be like having them clean the shop and like cutting down random trees on our property, and it's like
Yeah,
it's eating
just
all the
throwing
profits,
money.
you know.
Yep.
I,
So
I have another thing that I was just creating. I wish I would have created it before this call because it's going to be oversimplified right now. But if I can share my screen, I have another thing that can help unlock profit for our company.
absolutely. I think you have to request it on your side because it went away,
All right, 1 second.
and it looks like we've got some questions coming in, which is awesome. Oh, is this the? Oh, okay, I see it.
Okay. So this is going to be extremely oversimplified because I haven't put like a whole lot of actual thought into what numbers are going to go where. But a lot of the times companies are not maximizing their assets, and the profit is hiding in the difference between what you're currently doing versus what your assets can do. And here's kind of a breakdown of this. So this red box, these are all of your fixed expenses and all of your expenses per month. So let's say that you're having currently, like I'm going to make up numbers here, but like a 15% net profit, and where that 15% net profit is coming in is between where this red box ends and this black line starts. And so this is kind of where you're making all your profits because you've covered all of your expenses between 0 budgeted hours and, for example, 350 budgeted hours with your assets, and you've gotten past this break even point, and this is where you're starting to see your profits. But instead of pushing sales and marketing hard, you could be getting all of this profits. Now here's the beautiful part. From this first line to this line, you're getting 15% profit just in this example. But you have all these expenses that you have to cover throughout that journey. Now, since all of your fixed costs are covered, now you only have to worry about cost of goods sold after this black line. And so if your gross profit, and so if we're taking a look at our profit and loss statement, your gross profit is just your revenue minus your cost of goods sold. And so if you have like a 60% gross profit, this is all going to be your gross profit is now your net profit right here.
Yeah.
And so you get to profit an additional, for example, 60% if you just max out your assets versus all of this hard work you've done is only 15%. But now you can get a 60% net profit if you just max out your assets.
Yeah. That's huge, man. Dude, I see that so much too. Like at our main location, we're at like that 90% capacity where we're like almost maxing out all of our stuff. That's why we were talking about buying another truck. But then when you look at our Salina location, the one that's like brand new, that like is not there, it's rough. You know what I mean? But we learned a lot in our first year of like the numbers that we're supposed to hit because of, like that line, we're definitely in the red. You know. Unfortunately, but it'll probably be another at least 12 months until we can get into the green, which is where most of the profit is. So anybody that's in there, don't get discouraged. Like it's okay. I mean, hopefully you're, not have a ton of expenses and like a shop and all that stuff. And hopefully you're just maybe doing it out of your house to start. But, yeah, we just want to get in that green for sure. Cause that's where all the money is,
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. All right. It looks like we got some questions coming in here. I mean, that's really, I would say, probably all I had on my end as far as like sharing, hopefully, good information to people that are watching to increase their profits. Unless you guys had any last minute tips and tricks, then we can jump here into the Q&A. You guys have any additional things to say to the people? Sorry, Caleb, were you talking? I think there was like a delay or something.
Oh, I just said not off the top of my head.
Okay, cool. All right. So who wants to start for the first question?
I think it says he's calling for you, Will.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it's me. All right. Austin Eberly says, "Hey, Will, I work at a bank full time and have been doing lawn care on the side for about a year. I only have time on Thursday and Friday evenings and all day Saturday. I mean, I think that's somewhat normal for people that are just starting out, that they have limited amount of time. I would just try to cram as much I can on those days off as possible. If you're looking to replace that, I think this is his question now. So how hard will it be? Will it be to go full time, do you think? I mean, I don't think it'll be that hard. Obviously, depending on where you're at, you may be in a seasonal business. So like just be careful if you go full time during a season, because for us, all of our workload gets cut into a 1/3 come the winter time. And so you want to be prepared for that when you're going full time, to just know like, hey, you either need to A, put some money aside, or B, really ramp it up in the busier season, because all of your workload is pretty much going to get cut into 1/3 come December, January, February. But again, that might change based on your geographical location. So, just be mindful of that. Obviously, try to max out the 2 or 3 days a week that you have already. And then once you get there, I'd say if it's at the beginning of like spring and you're already at 2 or 3 days, like, yeah, let's go. Let's put all our eggs into it and run with it. But if you're going into like the slower season, you may want to wait to step away from the full-time job, because again, everything's going to pretty much get cut into 1/3. So,
yeah.
All right. Sam, how about you take this one away? This one's from your wife.
Who's this lady? How do you balance off season now that we are entering the winter months? The goal is to never have an off season. That's the ultimate goal. But since my wife is the one that has asked this, I think you should really prioritize hanging out with your wife.
Yes.
Good answer.
Great answer. Very good answer, Sam.
That's a good answer. Politically correct answer. So how do you balance off season now that we are entering the winter months? I think the goal is to take a reset. Like now is going to be the time to not kick your feet up for lack of sense, but this would be a really good time to work on the things that you've been too busy to work on during the peak season, like dialing in systems, figuring out automations. Where can we increase our efficiencies operationally and with an admin, stuff like that. So that's going to be a really good thing to focus on in the off season to set yourself up for success in the following growth season. I think also keeping your A players happy is if you can do that, keep your A players happy in the off season. What we got into this spring is spring of 2024 is we basically started from scratch. Our as of March, our like newest employee, because we lost an employee to a GM, which is fine. But for our main location, the most tenured employee come March was like 2 months. And so we had to train everybody up for all of this year, which by God's grace, it worked out fine. But if you can keep your A players happy throughout the offseason so that they can come and be already trained up and become trainers, that's a quick lever you can pull. And so that's how I would balance the offseason.
Yeah, I agree. And to add to that, so I have this blackboard. Actually, it's when I was in this office, I have like a separate blackboard that like it says like off season, like tasks, and I would just write it down. You know what I mean? Whether that's on your board or like in your CRM or something like that, to dos, whatever. I think that's really important because there's like hundreds of things during the season when you're so busy, you're like, I got to get to that, but we just don't have the time. Now that we don't have the time, we need to be able to do those weird off tasks that are important, that definitely need to get done. So very good. Very
I'm
good.
gonna share a video link to Austin Eberly. I did a video probably 2 or 3 years ago on when to go full time, and so I'm just gonna add that in the chat if Austin is still watching.
Yeah, good idea. All right, Caleb.
Stature Adams, what is the best size mower for residential? I'm asking about stand-on and zero turns. So this really just depends on the majority of your market or your client base. I would say if 80% of your market or client base is small residential homes, I'd probably just go for like a 21-inch or a 30-inch mower. Just depends. But if they're, let's say, above 8,000 square feet, uh, an average size, you might want to go for like a small stand-on zero turn, like a 32-inch. Again, it really just depends on what most of your customer base is. I would say if it's 80% small, tiny residential, you should probably have your entire setup just be 21-inch mowers.
Absolutely.
We've ran production rates. If you are servicing lawns that are like 8,000 square feet and less, compared to if you had two 21-inch push mowers for a 2-person crew on a truck versus one stand-on and a 21-inch push mower, the production rates are changed by like 1 minute. And so if you're actually looking at cost for equipment versus trying to become efficient, there's really not a big lever you can pull with getting a stand-on mower versus a 21-inch push mower at 8,000 square feet and less. The lever that you pull is you can get more done in a day because you save like the wear and tear on your feet where you're not pushing. So you could work longer hours. You can do a 10-hour day instead of a 7-hour day. But actual time on property doesn't change much under 8,000 square feet.
Okay, that's really interesting to me because honestly, Sam, this is one of the biggest questions I get. They're like, should I get a zero? And like, dude, they ream me in the comment section. All love, but they ream me in the comment section about how we only use 21-inch mowers and we got to get a stand on. So that's really interesting that you ran the math on that and found that it was only a 1 minute difference.
Yeah, like one or 2 minutes. Yeah.
So I've done this myself too. I actually had a stand-on mower for my market, my area that like back in the beginning of my business, I bought a 32-inch Skag stand-on. Like this was an amazing mower. Like I love this thing. Kind of wish I still had it, but it like literally there would be properties where it would have been faster just to stay on the 21-inch mower. It would have been better. Or I would have like saved a minute. I'm like, I'm spending all this money on maintenance. I've got to have this trailer, all this extra stuff. It's like the
Yeah.
costs just outweigh the benefit,
So
especially for these tiny little properties. Plus the damages. We would tear up lawns. There would be damaged fences, like damaged a van and stuff. Like it's
yeah.
crazy.
But like even with all of that additional like repairs and flat tires and stuff like that, because you don't get that with 21-inch mower, but that doesn't offset the labor needed of two guys pushing the mower. Because when I look at a P&L, the labor is the most expensive thing on the line item. So like if I can replace it with a larger mower or something like that to bring my labor costs down, it's still like from a pure financial standpoint too, like it's that close, you think? All expenses included, right? So like if you have two guys on a mower and you're paying them labor and wear and tear on the equipment versus one guy with the stand on, right? So from a speed standpoint, you're saying there's a minute difference, but from the financial standpoint of like cutting down your labor because now you have one guy who can be like way more productive. You know what I mean? Have you like ran that?
Yeah, I don't have those numbers in front of me. I haven't ran it necessarily, but there's hidden examples or hidden answers in this question, because time on property doesn't change much, but you get more done in a day, if that makes sense, because you can work longer hours versus just 6 hours. So you have guys pushing lawns, Will, in 100-degree heat, where and you guys get out in 6-7 hours in a day, where we have guys working 10-11 hours in a day, only 4 days a week. And so there's like, just looking at efficiency doesn't tell the whole story. Additionally, if you had two mirror companies, you had Troops Mowing and then you had Vets Mowing, that was the first name of my company, and I couldn't get it incorporated because they wanted congressional approval. So you had Vets Mowing and Troops Mowing. Vets Mowing uses all push mowers. They pay the exact same benefits, same everything. And then you have Troops Mowing. They do stand-ons. If you had a Rockstar employee apply at both companies, they're going to go with the company doing stand-ons. And so it's a way for a company to attract better talent, because nobody wants to push mow all day. Everybody wants to be on a stand-on. It just saves their feet wear and tear. So there's hidden benefits, although time on property doesn't change much below 7,000 or 8,000 square feet. Now above 8,000 square feet, like we have a threshold of 12,000 square feet. We are not going to mow 12,001. But from 8 to 12,000, the stand-on makes a huge difference. Huge difference. And so there's like hidden complexities in that altogether. But I think you just have to ask yourself, are you willing to spend $9,000 on a stand-down to attract better talent? Or if you are a solo operator, you have to get a stand-down, 100%.
Yeah.
You're the one that wants to save the wear and tear on your feet. But if you got guys out there, $9,000 for a mower multiplied by 4 crews, it's not fun to pay for that.
Yeah. No, you have it dialed in, because honestly, because we only use 21-inch mowers, we don't go above its 8,500 turf.
Yeah.
So we're right there at that 8,000, 8,500, where it's like, that's the point where it's like, nah. Yeah. That you need a different piece of equipment to be more efficient and stuff like that. So sometimes we'll get like a pie shape one that's like on a cul-de-sac, and it's like, 9,000, and we're like, sorry,
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Very cool. All right. So I think it's back to me. Morgan Gustin said, what are your goals for 2025? This is a really good question, Morgan, because normally we sit down and do our goals in like December-ish, maybe early January. More so, probably Christmas break. So to be honest, we haven't even sat down yet and gone through our 2025 goals. We're still trying to close out 24. Have you guys looked into your 2025 goals?
I have a revenue goal.
All right. What is your
I haven't like gone into the specifics, like the small little nuances, but the revenue goal is 600,000.
Nice. And so what are you going to finish off this year with?
325.
325. Okay, cool. Yeah, that'll be a good. So basically you have to double what you're pretty much doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good stuff. Sam?
Yeah, for us, we have a revenue goal. It's not so much a goal as of yet. It's just like figuring out what our assets can probably do next year. And our goal would be to max out those assets, I guess. Yeah. So our revenue goal would be anywhere from like 1.5 to 1.9 million for 2025. I think ultimately my goal is to figure out how to do general manager training, how to get a guy in there within a week and figure out how to lay a foundation for them to be successful, and then probably hold their hand for the next month with drive alongs and stuff like that. But I want to figure out how to make that scalable, the GM training aspect scalable. Because as we open up more locations, like next year we'll have our third location. I just want to make sure that that's scalable. I also want to dial in how to properly train regional managers, because I want that if you have a regional manager, then there's really no need for a CEO, right? So just trying to build that org chart out and make everything scalable and as efficient as possible.
Yeah, this is why I love that you and I are like right at the similar pace, because that's what I need to dial into is like the general manager training. In fact, I just asked Mike in the co-pilot thing, and I'm like, hey, how long am I supposed to be doing, 2-a-week coaching calls with my GM? And he's like, if you're doing 2-a-week coaching calls, he's probably not trained up enough. So I think, and then basically what he said was like, focus on like training him better. So that way, when you plug him into the system, you don't have to be as more hands-on. So where I was telling you, like, hey, let's try to get him trained up in like a week. Maybe we need to extend the training to like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ish, but make sure that like when they get out of that 2 or 3 week, they're like they know what they need to do. And then it's less of us being hands on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I won't say the name of the person that I was talking to just for the sake of, I don't know if they want me to put it out there, but I think you know who I was talking to about the GM thing. They said that at that size of company, they still don't have the GM training dialed in. And so he was basically like, you have to give yourself grace and the awareness that you're not going to figure it out within a year, because this company's doing $70 million a year and they still don't have GM training dialed in. They're certainly have, it's good. The GM training they have is good and it works, but it's not perfect. And so he's just like, you're going to just have to give yourself a lot of grace there.
Yeah, it's a good point. Very good point. All right. I think Sam's next, so you could take this one.
What do you think is the best way to remove leaves? Satcher, so we don't even really remove leaves. So we live in a lot of newer developments, or a lot of our customers are newer developments, so that we just mulch them up with the mowers. Depending on where you're at in the country, I know leaves are a big issue for like Midwest and those northern states. What I see a lot of people do is they either put it all on like a tarp and drag it to the bed of their truck and take it to the dump after, or they have like attachments that you can have like a tarp attachment and like blow all the leaves into this big tarp. Or you can like blow everything to the side of the road and use a billy goat and suck everything up into a dump trailer. There's really a lot of ways you can do it. Just from a business standpoint, because although I don't do this service barely ever, from a business standpoint, my advice to you, Satcher, would be to place a priority on your production rates, so that way you can go forward confidently in the future with pricing. So this year, figure out a way that you want to remove the leaves. Say, I'm going to commit to this route for next few years, and then collect data on your production rates.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Yeah. Just to go off that, by the way, if you want to do leaf removal cheaply, you don't want to buy expensive equipment like a billy goat or something. You could use something called a quick can. Is KWIK can. Basically, it's a portable trash can, and you could pretty much take a trash bag and turn it into an actual trash can. It's pretty cool, and it's super portable. Take a couple of these, line them up. Um, Try to blow the leaves into like a corner of the home. This is what I usually do, and then take your rake and you could just literally like rake it into the portable can. It's made to do that. Just type it in. It's KWIKKAN. Quick can. They're like $25 at Home Depot. They're amazing.
Yeah, great point. Great, really good point. The other thing too, Satcher, because I've looked into this a lot as well. We looked at getting all the big billy goats and the vacuum sucker and the big trailer and all this stuff. And you want to ask yourself asset utilization. How many months out of the year are you going to use that equipment? If it's only going to be for leaf cleanup season, which is for us like a month and a half, maybe 2 months, and it's going to sit in the unit for 10 months, I'm probably not going to buy it. Or I'm going to look at renting it if I really need something like that. But to be honest, we just use our backpack blowers and blow it into a corner and then use trash bags and rake it up. Probably not the fastest way. In fact, I know it's not the fastest way, but we use the blowers the other 9 months out of the year for mowing anyway, so we don't have to buy any extra equipment. You know what I mean? that just sits there. So plus we do the small lawns, so it's nothing like too crazy.
Satcher, do any of you guys do pressure washing as well? I was wondering if pressure washing is a good service to offer. I actually used to do this whenever I started my business. I used to be like jack of all trades. I did like window cleaning, pressure washing. Like I was on like 2 stories up, like cleaning windows. I was like shaking because I don't like being up high. Um, so I mean, it just depends on your goals. Like if you want to do that, as I would say, that's like a solo activity. If you want to scale your company, I would try to figure out like what you're good at, where you want to be at, and then just go all in on that instead of trying to do like the landscaping, the pressure washing, the windows, and all these different. These are all different businesses, right? But it just depends on your goals. If you want to be solo, sure, you can add that. But if you want to scale and grow a company, you're going to want to simplify and go all in on one thing.
Yeah, Caleb's spot on. Hey, Satcher, if you're still watching, leave a comment on if you're solo. If you're not, how many employees do you have? What do you anticipate the end of this year doing for top line revenue for you? I'm curious where you're at. Because basically, to follow up what on Caleb said, the answer would depend on your goals and where you're currently at this year. If you are going to, okay, so solo, yeah, so you're fine doing that. If you have plans of growing, I would recommend that be a service that you only do in the off season to keep your guys busy.
Yeah, really good points. Really good points. Tingle's Lawn Care or Lawn Service. I'm sorry. What do you guys do for health insurance? Do you offer insurance to your employees? Us personally, we do not do health insurance. You could, I believe, go through QuickBooks if that's what you're using and get some kind of health insurance plan. I just know it's really expensive. We do, however, offer other insurance. So we use a company called, oh man, I can't think of the name of it right now, but just any kind of like insurance company that like gives commercial insurance to employees and stuff. So we have a package where it's like they can get life insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, just not like the big one, which is health insurance, which is what most people kind of want. But it's nice to give an additional benefit to people of like if they want to opt in and get dental insurance, life insurance, vision insurance, there's cancer insurance, there's disability insurance. So again, if somebody if they get into an accident on their way home and they break their foot or something, or they break it playing basketball on the weekend, if they had disability insurance with our company, the insurance company would pay them out 75% of their paycheck for the 2 or 3 months that they can't work, right? That gives some security to the field members that partake in that. So we do offer that for them, and it's kind of nice. But yeah, we just don't do health insurance. Do you
Will,
guys?
is that like supplemental insurance like Aflac?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, we've thought about doing that too.
Yeah, it's a nice offer to capture new leads.
Yeah.
When you say, hey, we do offer benefits, because some people that's important. And then you obviously would just have to explain like, hey, it's just healthcare is the only one that we recommend if you're with your spouse, get on with her, or, if they're a younger generation, like, 20, 25 years old, hey, can you get on with your parents still with their insurance? And most of the time they get by doing that, a lot of our team.
Yeah. Have you put any thought into doing like SEP IRA or simple IRA?
Very, very small amount, but honestly, at the time when we were talking about it, we had such high turnover in our company that it probably didn't really make sense. But I think maybe down the road, maybe like 3 to 4 years from now, once we get like a little bit bigger where we have, 3, 4, 5 locations, and then we really have established like career places for people where they're making really good, living, I think that would probably make more sense. But when we're dealing with kind of frontline field members, it's hard. Like I know the importance of an IRA and investing for, like, I know that, but sometimes it's really hard for those team members to like know that or buy into that when you're, because like a lot of them are just today, right? It's hard for me to sell a vacation giveaway 6 months from now. They you know what I mean? They're not always thinking that way. So I've thought about it, but I think maybe down the road would
I
make
put
sense.
a little bit of like effort into looking into that. It's really good for us as business owners to like do that because it helps us out individually because we can do our Roth IRA separately, but then we can also kind of double dip and do like a SEP IRA or simple IRA.
Hmm.
I'm gonna probably get this wrong since it's been about 6 months since I looked into it, but you can have like the only eligible employees are ones that have been with us for 3 years or something. So then you're still able to pay yourself a SEP IRA or a second IRA if you're doing that Roth IRA personally, um, while only offering that to employees that have been with you for 2 or 3 years. And so
Mm.
that's a good way to kind of keep people on because there's hidden costs in that turnover. But it's also a way to kind of pad your pockets for your retirement,
Yeah,
personally.
that makes sense. I didn't know you could put those parameters in because I would have just thought it like from a logistical standpoint. Now maybe I'm not doing the onboarding or whatever, but logistically within the first 3 years, that's where a lot of the turnover is anyway. So if like they come in for like 12 months and then they like sign up for the plan and now they got to leave, we got to, you know what I mean? That just
Yeah,
from a might be a lot of admin stuff, but
for sure.
that makes sense to me putting that parameter in for sure. So, all right, I think this one's yours, Sam.
All right. So what are some good KPIs to track other than close rate? This is probably I love this question. I'm a KPI nerd. So close ratio is super important, like you said, but obviously you already know that, Bree. Um, some of my favorite KPIs that I like to track is labor efficiency. Labor efficiency is arguably one of the more important KPIs, I would imagine. But additionally, like what we don't necessarily track this, but we incentivize employees off of this metric, which is what we call contribution score. So labor efficiency only tells a part of the picture. Like if you've completed 3 budgeted hours and 4 clocked hours, you're 75% efficient. But you've only completed 4 budgeted hours. Like what are we doing? Um, Contribution score is labor efficiency multiplied by budgeted hours completed. That's going to get you who your top performers truly are, the people that are being efficient and getting a lot of work done. So contribution score is something we like to track as well. Direct labor. We like to track direct labor percentages because that has a huge implication on your gross profit. That's like Will said, it should be the biggest expense on your profit and loss statement. And if you're having direct labor over 50%, you're not going to have a very profitable company. We like to keep our direct labor underneath 40%. So if everything kind of works out how it should work out, our direct labor is around 33 to 36%. And that's where I like to be. We also like to keep track of the percentage of distributable income. This is probably more so for people who are acting as a general manager or are trying to take cash out of their bank. Having that metric is huge. Another thing is effective hourly rate. So how much are you effectively making per clocked hour? And you want to tie that number to your break even point per clocked hour. And so if your effective hourly rate is less than your break even point, you're losing money. If it's more than your break even point, you're making money. One thing that we don't necessarily track, but I think would be a good thing to track is overhead to direct labor ratio. You don't want to have more overhead salary than you have direct labor payroll. So we probably want like a 1-to-4 ratio on overhead to direct labor. So that'd be another good thing that you could track. And that's pretty much, there's probably like 12 or 15 things that we actually do track. But I think if I had to pick like 5 or 6 other than a close ratio, that would be it.
Yeah, that's great. Those are great stuff. Very good stuff. All right, Caleb.
It's Greg, Champion Lawn Cuts, Melissa. Oh yeah. I was spraying a lawn and this guy was stopping the street. He was like, just hey, what's up? I was like, hey, how's it going? He's like, I seen you on YouTube. I was like, what the heck? I texted that to Will too. I was like, hey, I got recognized in the street.
That's awesome.
That's the first.
Sam's run into a couple people at the grocery store, right, Sam?
There was one guy at Home Depot, and he was like, Sam? And I was like, oh gosh. I was like, do I know him from church or? And he said he saw me on YouTube, and I was like, dude, out of my 100 subscribers, that's awesome. Thanks, man.
That's awesome.
That is really cool. All right. All right. So I think this one's mine. Austin Eberly, how much higher should my revenue goal be over my personal expenses as a solo guy? How much higher should my revenue goal be? I mean, you got to be careful with this, right? Because your revenue goal doesn't account for all the expenses that come out that need to come out of the business. So like whether you're paying yourself, whether you're paying, fuel costs, insurance, overhead, all of that stuff has to come out. So to compare the two, like I don't think that's a good necessarily like comparison per se, because it's like I don't know if I would make that decision based off of just the revenue. Is like you have to figure like our second location is going to do 125,000 this year, and it's not going to make any money. Like it went backwards. So like you can't necessarily make a transitional decision of like going full time based off of that revenue goal. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. You really need to kind of sit down. What I did, Austin, my first like year, I created an Excel spreadsheet, something very simple, or you can do QuickBooks and just literally like every time you purchase something, like track your expenses. Like that's the number one thing that you can do, because then you'll be able to really identify if you can make that transition, because you need to know what your revenue is minus your expenses. That's what's left over that you can actually like live off of. That kind of makes sense.
I think you could probably backwards plan that. You're right, Will, but I also think you could backwards plan that.
Yeah.
So, for example, you would start off with how many budgeted hours can I complete, or how many clocked hours am I willing to work in a week? Let's say that's 40. And if you're 75% efficient, that means that you can do 30 budgeted hours in a week. Now multiply that by 52, whatever that comes out to. Let's say that your personal expenses are $5,000 a month. You can break that down into saying like, if what's my labor rate going to be, multiplied by 30, multiplied by 52. Like that's the max that you can do. Right. So then you have to just ask yourself, is that revenue enough to cover all of my expenses for the business and to cover my personal expenses? If the answer is no, you have to get an employee or you have to raise your labor rate.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because it says over my personal expenses. So this is assuming that he knows what his personal expenses is. The only other key aspect to this would be you just got to know your business expenses too. If you can know that 100%, yeah, that would make sense. Awesome. All right, this one's you, Sam.
All right,
this is the last one, by the way.
Last one. Next year, I will be getting a part-time employee. What should be my expectations? How many do you think I will have to go through to get a decent one? And what should I pay them? I had a miserable first employee, so it took me a few swings to get a good one. I would basically just expect that you're going to have a headache. I would kind of identify like what are your non-negotiables out of an employee, and live by them. So it's like, am I willing to put up with them being late? Yes. Okay. If no, then like hire slow, fire fast is the saying. And I would just try to get somebody who's money motivated and who you like to be with. Like if you don't like them at all in the interview, don't hire them, because you're going to be with them in the truck the entire day. So find someone who's money motivated and that you're willing to spend a whole day with would be my thing.
Absolutely. Anything to add to that, Caleb? Or
Yeah, no, same with Sam. Like my first employee was a nightmare. Like I had him for about a year and it was just totally terrible. Your first employee is probably not going to be your best employee, but you got to start somewhere. So this is a good point, good place to start.
yeah,
You'll definitely be going through quite a few to find a decent one, though. I will say that.
yeah, just a numbers game. Even like when we're talking about doing the GM training, like after the 5th GM, the training's not going to be outstanding. But after the 50th GM, I'm sure it's going to be significantly better, and you just dial it in. As long as that's all business is, like every day, as long as you get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And all of a sudden, week, month, year goes by, and all of a sudden your business is like crushing it. But nobody sees just the small increment improvements that you're doing in your business every day, So
yeah. And I realized I didn't answer that last part of the question. So what should I pay them? The rule of thumb is take your labor rate, divide it by 4, and that's going to be your base pay. And if that number comes out less than 15, I would raise your labor rate. So I would say wherever you live, call McDonald's, see how much they're paying per hour, add $2 to it. That should be your base pay. Multiply that by 4. That should be your labor rate.
I like it. I like it. Good
Simple.
stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys, that was the last comment that we had today. So a couple small, quick announcements here as we wrap up. Thank you guys, everybody that's live watching us and spending your Saturday with us. From now all the way to December 31st, I'm doing a free one-on-one coaching call. Just email me at media@militarylawncuts.com. Before December 31st, I'll send you a link. We'll jump on a call. It'll help us give knowledge, and in fact, I'm doing a coaching call right after this, and that'll be aired. So take advantage of that. It's $300 value I charge for coaching one-on-one, but up until December 31st, I'm giving it away for free. So definitely take advantage of that. It's my time, which is very valuable. Also, Sam, our good friend here, has a coaching is it a coaching training? Like, can you maybe kind of jump into that just a little bit, and then maybe give us a snapshot of like who the ideal person that you think would benefit tremendously from your coaching?
Yeah. So if you follow me on YouTube, it's the Sam Gustin. That's Gustin. I post just content, and I'm trying to get as good as Will, but we're getting there slowly but surely. My coaching program, what I do is, I kind of offer personalized and customized coaching to people. There's 2 different programs. One's $250 a month, and then one is $1,500 every quarter. That comes out to about $500 a month. If you're basically trying to scale up to 500,000, you're going to want to go with the $250 one. You get my unlimited attention. You get my personal email. You basically get my cell phone. You get a 30-minute call once a month, and you can pick my brain through text and email the rest of the month. The other one is I will actively monitor your KPIs. You get a template for you get access to all the templates we use for text, email, invoices, and estimates. You get all the calculators. Like if you were here at the beginning of the call, you get that calculator. You get a CEO dashboard, and you kind of just get an overview of all of our automations that we do to run, $1 million a year company. And so if you're trying to scale to $1 million and past, that would be the best option for you.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, Sam's a wizard with automations, my friend. This dude's got an app. He's got all kinds of stuff going on the back end. So he's solid. Like when it comes to automations and stuff, he's helped build me some automations on the back end that have made my life way easier to get us closer to that 1 to 6 admin ratio, which is the goal to keep the overhead low. So, but yeah, no, we definitely appreciate you guys coming on. Caleb, thank you for joining us. And for everybody that's watching, we do this every single month on Saturday. If you are just getting started and you have no money, and doesn't even matter, we're here to help you. Jump on a Q&A with us. It's completely free. Take advantage of it. In the comments, leave your questions every Saturday. No, not every Saturday. Once a month, every Saturday, we do the live Q&A. So take advantage of it, and it's all for you guys to help grow your lawn and landscape business. So thank you guys so much for jumping on. And
yes, sir.
Satcher Adams says, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Satcher.
Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
All right.